Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Leaders Dojo. And tonight it's going to be a very special show because we're going to have Andreas Dorn with us, who is going to speak about this very important topic, communicating with influence. Right, before I go any further, let me just introduce myself. Um, okay, what am I doing? All right, something's not working. Give me a couple of minutes. All right, now I see what's going on. There we go. It's been 3 weeks since I've done this, and I seem to have forgotten a few things. All right. So, for those of you who are joining tonight, thank you very much for being here. My name is Chee-Seng, and I'm a writer, content strategist, trainer, and coach. And this is a little bit of a passion project of mine, something that I've wanted to do for some time now. For those of you who don't know me, I've spent almost 25 years as a writer and communication strategist. And in the past year or so, I've added training and coaching to my resume. Um, it's something that I've always been interested in. And one of the areas that I'm interested in is actually leadership. And that's why we have this show. But before I get ahead of myself, the Leaders Dojo show is actually one of the expressions of a training outfit that I'm with. I have three partners together, and we offer corporate training, bespoke corporate training programs. And we offer a 360 approach to skills training, coaching, and organizational development. And specifically, we cover these triple pillars of leadership, communications, and branding. And how it all integrates together. And actually, this is what this show is about. This show is about that vision of integrating communication, leadership, and branding. And the intention of this show is to spark conversations about why leadership, communications, and branding is so essential and integrated in the market today. So twice a month, every second and fourth Tuesday, I talk to leaders, change makers, and experts to get their insights into these topics. And I like to keep this show conversational. It's not so much of an interview, but we want to have a conversation with the expert who is on the show, so that we can all learn something together, and it's not just a conversation between me and the expert. So feel free to join in the conversation, drop in your comments or questions into the chat box anytime, and we will get to your questions. Now, tonight, I'm very, very glad to have with me Andreas Dorn. He's a certified trainer of NLP, hypnotherapy, and timeline therapy. Andreas first came to Malaysia in 1993 to work with the UNDP in the Prime Minister's department. And he stayed when he fell in love with the country and his wife, Najwa. And since then, he has held several leadership positions, several corporate positions in Indonesia and Singapore before he started his journey towards becoming an NLP trainer in 2003. He is the founder of Asia Mind Dynamics, which he runs with his wife, Najwa, and together they help their students achieve breakthroughs in their life, breaking through their mental barriers and through their fixed beliefs to achieve personal and professional growth through NLP. So without further ado, let me welcome Andreas Dorn.
Yay.
Hi, Andreas.
Yay.
Oh,
Hello,
I gotta stop
Chee-Seng. Hello,
sharing.
everybody. Good evening. Good to be
Hi.
here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for making time, Andreas. I know you're really busy because your training's still going on, right? You have a lot of classes.
Pretty much every single day, aside of the days where I choose not to train or coach people. Yeah.
Right. So, Andreas, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? I mean, I just had a very, very brief introduction. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit more about your background, personally or professionally.
What's there to say? You mentioned already everything. I wrote out the same words you've mentioned here right now. But how did I come? Hey, Vivian, good to see you. How did I come to NLP? Actually, was because I worked in a wonderful HR consulting company from 2000 to 2005. And when some of you might remember 2000, 2005, a lot of companies in Malaysia started merging, acquisition, talent management, talent pipeline development, or performance management came greatly up. And along that line, we had conversations with CEOs and directors. And the common theme was along that line, it's hard to change behaviors. And I nearly got hypnotized by this one as well. I always believed in change. I always believe people can change very quickly if they choose to. But then when I heard that more and more often people said, like, can't change, it's really hard to make changes happening in the organization. What shall we do along that line? I really thought, like, wow, how can that really be true overall? And then I came across this beautiful little tool called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, way back in 2003. And it was a 2 days training only at that time. And it just simply blew me out of the water because I realized it is possible to help people change behaviors or change their life and they know what's going on inside here. And at that point of time, I decided, well, it took a little while longer, but at that point of time, it started my journey into NLP, into the mind, and helping people to make their dreams come true. And then became a trainer of NLP way back in 2005, 2006, and ever since studying the mind. That's quickly summarizing what I'm doing. Otherwise, I would talk an hour or so.
You mentioned 2 days. Was it really 2 days?
2 days training. It was a 2 days training, personal. What was it called? I have actually the certificate still here. Extraordinary Performance with NLP. It was just a 2 days training. But the practitioner training then that I underwent was a 12 days training. The master practitioner, which is the next level of NLP, was 16 days. And to become a trainer of NLP, it was a 23 days of training. One go, 1 day off.
Right.
That was amazing and life-changing.
Yes. And you've been doing this for like what? More than 15 years now. So you've had a lot of students go through this with you.
Basically, so, yes. And I'm grateful to all my students, actually.
Yeah, and I'm also a certified.
I'm seeing my hair is like totally messy. My goodness. Okay, hairdresser.
Yeah, all of us guys are having bad hair days.
Girls maybe nowadays, isn't it?
Girls maybe. I mean, ladies having long hair might not be so noticeable, but guys, gosh, if I pull this out, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Absolutely, that's communication as well, you know, and how you appear on camera and people's first impression and all that stuff, you know.
I haven't put gel on my hair for a long time, but now when I do webinars and lives, oh man, I get like comb, and that's a very unusual practice for me now. No, I was saying I'm also what do you call it, a certified NLP practitioner, and I really enjoy it.
I know your sister Stephanie, and we are good friends, and we are really.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. She's staying in Tamandesa as well, actually, and she's like we bumping each other.
Stephanie is good friends with everybody, lah. She's the extrovert. I'm the polar opposite of her.
I don't believe that you're just as nice as her, or you're totally projecting the wrong picture here.
NLP, we have to project. No, but yeah, it's really interesting. I find NLP really interesting because it has this. Well, besides NLP, I've gone through some other trainings before, but it has this concept of shifting the mindset, right? Shifting the mindset to be able to perform. And honestly, I felt personally that having influence and communicating with people was actually something that's difficult because I'm introvert, right? And Stephanie is like she can strike up a conversation with anyone, but yes, and myself, going to parties are exhausting. You know, I need to recuperate if I go to holidays with friends. I need a holiday after the holiday. So, but it's really important, right, to actually have these conversations with people, and that's why I asked you to be on the show tonight, because I know you being a NLP trainer, you've helped a lot of people who are probably like me, right, who have difficulty communicating, who have, probably didn't feel like I have a lot of personal power to influence people. And so I thought this would be a really great topic that we can talk to, right? Guys, if you have questions, please do drop it in the comments. Thank you and welcome to every one of you. I forgot to name a few of you, man. I got to acknowledge all of you here.
I threw you out of the water when I was talking something totally different about hairstyle, right?
No, it's me. I'm forgetful. I'm very absent-minded. So my wife will tell you exactly the same. Vivian, thank you for being here. Tang, Rosita, Anita. Oh, Anita, faithful, very faithful follower of the show. Yuan, Noraini, thank you for being here. Andrew, Mei Hong, Julian. Oh my gosh, I got stories to tell about Julian. Julian
It's one of
Julian
my
is a very
students this year.
successful. Julian he's your student.
No. But I see one student of mine, so I gotta behave here.
I see. No, Julian is my student.
No, I know. I talk about somebody else, okay?
I've known Julian since he was a teenager. I
Oh,
taught him
wow.
swimming, and
Oh, wow.
Julian was. I hope you don't mind. Sorry, you cannot stop me because it's my show. I'm going to tell this story.
Sure. Go ahead, I enjoy it.
So Julian, I knew him when he was, I think, 15, 16. That's like, 20 years ago. And I taught him swimming, and he was terrified of the water. He was absolutely terrified, and he couldn't go past his chin.
Okay.
Right, and I worked with him for about a month, and his task was just to pick up the coin from the floor of the pool, right? And it took him a long time, but finally when he actually did it, wow, man, he swims like a fish now. He's amazing.
He became a fish, maybe.
And today
Sorry,
he's
Julian.
a very, very successful businessman. He does events for regional and international stages.
Cool.
Right. Sean, welcome. Jacqueline, welcome. Azleen, welcome. Adam, welcome. Shirley, thank you for coming. Thank you, my new connection. And Melanie, hey.
Good to see all of you guys here.
Yes, a lot of our buddies here.
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into our first question. As I said just now, if any of one of you have a question or comment, just dive right in. I don't want to make this an interview show. Yeah, let's just have a nice conversation together. So, our topic, communicating with influence. What is communication, and how important is it for a leader or a spouse or a parent? Right? Because normally when we talk about influence, we always talk about, you need to be a leader, you need to be, somebody high up, right? To have influence. But what is your take on that, right? What is communication, and how important is it as a
finish the
leader?
question already, then? Okay.
Yeah, we're in the question already.
Okay. Communication is everything. Communication is everything. Even if you don't say a thing, you're communicating. If you are just walking on the street, not doing anything, or just sitting around, you're communicating. So you're communicating all the time, anywhere. People look at you, people judge you, people evaluate you. We are humans, we can't help it. We are evaluating people around us constantly. So we are communicating it's even that is communication right now. We're communicating all the time how we are addressing the environment we are in. We cannot not communicate, which is a principle of NLP as well. So it doesn't matter if you're a leader, if you're a spouse, if you're a child, you forgot to add in a child, if you're a parent, if you're a manager, if you're an executive, if you're a boss, you're communicating constantly. Now, the most important part, if you want to draw a line between leader, spouse, parents, and all that, I would say, like, be authentic in your communication and how you present yourself as a person. That means if you are communicating, if you're a leader in an organization and you're communicating one style, let's say you're communicating empowerment, you're communicating transparency, you're communicating people stand up and speak out, and whoever you are, I'm open to your feedback. But then you go home and you're mistreating your wife, or your husband, you're mistreating, or you're regulating extremely your child, you're on a punishment style, more authoritarian style, less the empowerment style. There's a conflict, and people will pick it up sooner or later. We cannot not communicate. For example, I saw one time a boss of mine who was very, very good in the organization, but when he was talking to his children, was very different. And when I was experiencing that, it was like a mirror breaking. I'm not sure if that's the right expression here right now. It was just like a perception breaking, a belief shifting instantly, and it was damaging my perception of that person. And it instantly, my style of communicating with that person changed. I was not sure anymore which one is now the right person, which one is a person who is a true person ultimately.
And I think it's really interesting you mentioned that, because me coming from also a teaching background, we always understand that children lessons are caught and not taught, right? You can tell the children anything, but they learn by what they see. You know, a lot of the from what I observe, right, I can't say for everyone, but a lot of children of very, very successful people, you know, who are public personas, they're actually very problematic because they don't get the public persona at home. Right? It's a very different communication style, as you mentioned, right? So it does lead to a conflict, and I think it's great what you mentioned.
I think it's a challenge then, you know, that what's your most inner belief, you know, what we are believing overall within ourselves. And when you are really in a public persona, you're trained up to perform in a certain level. You're trained up to speak and to react. And it's not always you, maybe. You might want to be the person who is impulsive, spontaneous, speaking out. But if you're really a public person, you're not always allowed to do that. So you got to hold yourself back, while maybe in your family, then you're speaking up. So it's about the alignment along that line. Anita is saying that authenticity is so important in every role. But how can you hold it up sometimes? You brought a really good point up here, Chee-Seng, you know, that if you're a public persona, how can you always put it into a common alignment? That's a challenging part sometimes.
So how would you align that authenticity, right? Because you're right, we always need to have a persona, right? So sometimes in a one-to-one we speak in a certain way, in a large hall we speak in a certain way, and family we speak in a certain way. So how do we align the authenticity such that, you know, we are authentically, effectively being us, you know, communicating in every situation?
Authentically community. What was like? You okay? How do we do this? I think it's about working on your own beliefs. I always believe, you know, that it's just coming from my world right now, you know, how we communicate now is how we have. You pointed it out actually, very truly. She's saying, you know, children pick it up from their parents. And that is the first communication you get as an imprint in your mind. So if you are growing up in a family, for example, where openness is encouraged, empowerment is encouraged, where failure is encouraged, where you are able to stand up for your own opinion, is encouraged. When you are in a school where teacher encourages open conversations, discussions, even contradictions or conflicting opinions, that goes inside of you. And if you're an adult person, your belief about communication is very different. If you are differently, of course, like the old saying goes overall, you know, maybe you heard that saying before, children should be seen, not heard. What kind of principle is that, for example, okay? What kind of belief will that child get into his or her mind along that line? And let me tell you a story that I like to share in my training many times. When my son was in primary school, there was a kid in his class who was constantly asking questions, a really smart kid, constantly asking questions, very, very inquisitive. And one day, my kid came to me, and one day, the teacher told that other child, why do you always have to ask questions? Can you just be quiet one time? Can you just shut up?
Oh man.
And from that point onward, the child never asked question again, according to my son. I told my son, if that teacher ever says something like that to you, he should tell me instantly that teacher would be in trouble. Because that was a significant emotional event. That the child
Yeah.
instantly learned, basically, authority speaks to me. I better shut up, otherwise I'll get into trouble, whatever the reasoning, whatever the child made in his mind at that point of time became a little trauma, maybe, and he never asked question again. I don't know the child anymore, what happened along that line. He must be the same age as my kid right now. It's my own son who's now 23 years old. But that is so important, that kids get encouraged to be constructive, to stand up, to speak for themselves, to develop their own personality. It's communication gets formed inside a parent's home already or in school environment already. So if you want to communicate well, then you got to work on your own beliefs as well. It's not just teaching the techniques, but it's about learning to manage your beliefs and overcoming limiting beliefs. And you say you're an introvert. I can define myself as an introvert as well. I don't like to go into big networking events and be the outspoken person and approach everybody. I'm talking here like loud, and I feel like that. Okay, once I'm okay, I can do it. But it takes me also that little extra effort in getting out there. But it's a decision I can make in my mind if I want to make it happen. Because I believe somewhere along the line, it's a belief to hold in my mind as well. And if I want to make it happen, then I can go out and be noisy and loud and appear to be very extrovert if I choose to.
Yeah,
I hope
but
that helps. I'm blabbering here.
no, I totally get you. I've been to a couple of BNI guest events, and I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So, any invitations for the next 2 years? Oh, please, I can't take it. I've exhausted my energy. No, but I think what you said is very important. The example that you gave, the example of the school teacher, having that position, right, coming from the top, and which actually leads very nicely to my next question. And we'll take this question, and after that we'll answer some of the audience questions, right? So, how important is influence in communication for these various areas of life? Right, whether you're a teacher or a spouse or a boss, or even if you're in a subordinate position.
How important is influence in communication for various? In sales, old sales, they were saying like, hey, if you are meeting a client, one person is always winning. Either you as a salesperson who is getting the sale, or the person who is then rejecting maybe, and you are not making the sale, leaving the office like a beaten guy, then the person managed overall. So I don't like that example, because it's like, hey, I got to beat the other person to get to my outcome ultimately. But I believe influence is everything. Influence is everything, and it happens all the time. So communication is about influence. So how
would you define influence?
Oh, you okay. Influence to me is creating win-win situations. So there's a fine situation between influence, persuasion, and manipulation. The easiest one to explain is, of course, manipulation. Manipulation would be if I manipulate someone to ultimately be on my side. I hold a gun against his head, for example, drastically speaking, and if you're not doing what I wanted to do, I shoot you. Or I'm doing anything it takes to manipulate you into following my instruction. That is a worst case scenario where I have to use sometimes even force in order to make it happen. Sooner or later, those who manipulate will lose out. I just want to believe that. Influence to me is, let me describe it like this, okay? Influence, and I think it's answering a little bit of what when Jay's question here. Influence to me is about understanding the other person. What is really going on in that person's mind? Picking them up where they are, going to their bus stop, picking them up, and then bringing them where they want to go. That is influence to me. Really understanding. You got to understand, everybody is different. Everybody is different. We are not the same. Everybody has got their own DNA, their own life experience, their own traumas in the mind overall, okay? So I need to understand you first, totally, absolutely, your needs, your wants, your problems, your challenges, your dreams, ultimately. Once I understand that and I see that what I have to offer to you is in alignment with what I have to offer is in alignment with you, then we can open a sales negotiation to get win-win situations ultimately. And even win-win-win, because hey, I always like to take care of Mother Earth as well. So it's very important nowadays. Look at the world around us with COVID and floods everywhere in Russia and in Germany, in China, and in the UK even, that we need to take care of the world along that line. That even I walk away from deals when I think like it's bad for Mother Earth.
Right.
Persuasion would be more or less like forcing you a little bit because I know what's good for you. I think it's the right definition along that line. Persuasion.
Yeah. So you might not be convinced, but you're persuaded. Could you say that?
Exactly.
But if you are influenced, then you personally will be. Yeah, I think this is good.
Somewhere along that line. Yep, absolutely.
Right. Okay, let's take Yao Wen's question. Oh, do I call Yao Wen or Wen J?
I have no idea, but
Okay.
anything goes like
Sounds like
Wen.
Wen J lah. Okay.
Our apologies
Right.
when we're getting it wrong here.
Yeah. Have you dealt with bottleneck effects of communication as if it will not lead to any positive outcomes? What is the most difficult encounter you have gone through?
Difficult encounter that you went through that you will never forget in matters of communication, relationship with others. For you, that is a hard question to answer. Okay, either I can go very, very personal. Okay, of course. I mean, it's knowing. I mean, I just want to make one thing clear. Knowing NLP, knowing linguistics, studying words. I read over. I let me just be a little bit arrogance alert here right now. Okay, I studied over 10,000 books with regard to influence, persuasion, NLP, hypnosis, mind management, blah blah blah, whatever, unconscious mind and all that stuff. Okay, so I think I'm not that bad along that line. It doesn't mean that we as NLP trainers or NLP practitioners are robots and we always win and we are perfect in all manner. There is no such thing, okay? I do mess up as well. The main difference might be, I like to always say that, I do maybe know a little bit earlier when I messed up. I have messed up many times in my life, okay? But I do know how when I mess up, and I can tell you another story if you want, if time permits, when I mess up and I'm able to stand up and go out and say, sorry, I totally messed it up. And my apologies for this one. And I have no hesitation whatsoever in doing this along that line because I have nothing to win or gain if I apologize along that line. I just have got nothing to win or gain. It's just about me ultimately. It's about honesty along that line.
Right. So I think that leads to his follow-up question here. Have you ever used up all avenues of persuasion till you have to give up or continue to convince others who are recalcitrant to change?
Of course. Yes. It happens along that line, and it can happen. People have their own free will. You have your own free will. Ultimately, whatever I would do, what I can persuade you. Maybe you have a similar situation as well. I can persuade you, I can manipulate you, I can influence you. But what will I gain along that line? If I have the same situation when I went into business deals along that line, when people were trying to convince me on something, and something deep inside of me signaled to me, stop, don't go there, it's dangerous, I don't like it, I feel bad. I listened to my own inner gut feeling. I listened to that very, very intensively, and I walked away. And I was so freaking lucky along that line that I walked away, because whatever happened along that line, and I give you another story along that line, whatever happened, I would have lost quite a lot of stuff, of money along that line, reputation, maybe even my business, if I wouldn't have listened to my own gut feeling. And yes, I had a situation where I was supposed to present, going for a presentation. And it was one of the most important presentations in my life. And I was, for once, I normally don't prepare, because I just trust my subconscious mind giving me the right responses at the right point of time, even though I've got a little bit of notes always with me, but I'm not writing it down. So it was a really important presentation. And I thought, like, wow, this presentation, if I would have won that deal, I could have done in one deal, I could have got the revenue for 2 years maybe for my organization, Asia Mind Dynamics, along that line. Okay, so I really prepared. I memorized and I prepared and I memorized and I prepared. Wrong thing, do not memorize. Okay, because what went on in that presentation is not everybody was there when the presentation started. And I was halfway through. Other people came in and they threw me off track. They asked different questions. I totally lost my train of thoughts. I was like inside my mind. I started like, oh shoot, it's going totally wrong. I lost everything along that line. I nearly lost my bearings. Line, and I was like praying inside of me and I managed to get out of it along that line. I managed to get out, and I think I safeguarded something. But I didn't win the deal because it was not good. It really, absolutely was not good. And yes, if I would have won that deal, I would have lost everything.
Right.
Because what happened was it would have taken so much effort in order to get this deal rolled out across Malaysia, globally maybe. It would have taken so much effort and resources from my side that I would have broken everything. I would have broken everything in my organization and financially along that line. And it would have gone haywire totally. And I'm happy that I walked away. Or that
So
it didn't
you were lucky, right?
I was
lucky it didn't work
really
out.
lucky at that point of time. Really
So we've
lucky.
got a third question who is along this line. This is from Sean. How can we communicate in a presentation if the opponent keeps saying you're not right? By the way, you may question where went wrong.
If the opponent keeps saying you're not right, what can I do? I mean, I can always, you can't. You see, there are people who are strongly believing they're always right. And you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force a horse to drink ultimately, Sean. It's a good question ultimately. And it's again saying like, but I would always also flip around and say like, maybe what is it inside of me that I don't see clearly, what the other person can see clearly. You understand what I'm trying to say? So maybe somewhere along that line, what would happen if I play along with that other person and assume maybe the other person is right? Could also be possible along that line that I'm suddenly shift something away from my own focus, going away and saying like, maybe I'm the wrong person here. Maybe I'm in the wrong side of the ring along that line. Let me see what happens if I agree with that other person. How far would it go? And maybe I learn something along that line, and maybe I shift my perspective. Maybe I was wrong in the first place. Could also be. Just try it out and see how it goes.
Yeah, the question seems to be going along a trend. Is how it sounds to me. It sounds like, how do I convince people who don't agree with me?
Yeah,
So
it's always in this conversation. I'm not a genius in conversation along that line. Okay, it is about understanding where the other person is. First of all, really understanding where they are, and then embedding your communication into their thinking style, the way they are thinking. And it's too much to explain this here along that line. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody focuses on different things. Like when you're going into a conversation, some people focus on what is positive. Other people always identify problems. So if I am a person who always focuses on positive stuff, and I talk to somebody who always focuses on what's negative, what could go wrong, maybe I should start thinking about, how can I link my positive outcome to his problem thinking along that line and see how that goes. So just adjusting my thinking, my way of communicating. That would be one possibility. Ultimately, Sean, you always have the chance. I hope at least you have the chance. People have always the choice. Walk away. Because if you feel like you are right, the other person believes he or she is right, and you are clashing along that line already in a business deal, if it's a client, I'd rather walk away. Because if the conversation, the relationship starts up already on this point of view, in a conflict situation, walk away. It's better for you, it's better for the client, it's your reputation ultimately.
Yeah. You brought up a point just now about the bus stop, which I think is really interesting, because I had a similar realization some years back from my teaching experience. Because the program that I'm with, we don't stand in front of classroom to deliver content. The program that I'm with, we want our student to develop self-study skills. And now that's very difficult, because self-study means self-motivation. How am I going to get a child who is used to the school system of my teacher tells me what to do and I do it? How am I going to get this child to be self-motivated, right? To have a goal in front of him, to work towards that goal. And because we also have a concept of advanced learning, which we actually aim for students to achieve like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years faster than the school. How am I going to get my kids to be self-motivated to achieve at such a high level? And when in my early years as a teacher, I would be the typical Chinese teacher method, do this, what's wrong with you, that kind of stuff. But then I realized that up to a certain point they'll cooperate because it's pressure from the top. But then I realized that's not what I want. I'm not fulfilling the intentions of the program, right? The intention of the program is not to push them to perform. The intention of the program is to get them to be self-motivated to perform. And that's where I came to a very, very similar realization as you. I didn't think of it as at a bus stop. I thought of it as a kid just sitting down in the middle of the road, not going anywhere, right? How are you gonna you can't be standing at the side of the road behind him and yelling at him to move. You can't be standing in front of him, at the opposite of the road and telling him to move. So the picture that I got was, hey, I need to walk to the middle of the road, right? Pick him up and walk him to the side of the road, right? So and that's when I started to change the way I speak to my students, and it has made a great difference, and I agree with you. There are some kids who just like, I'm not gonna do it whatever you say, and they're just like that. And those kids, I really can't help them. But there are some kids that they behave in a certain way that's rebellious. But after you show them that understanding, right, they begin to change, right? The cooperation happens. And then they get excited when they start to see that, hey, I'm actually achieving something here, right? So I think what you said is really significant, and I would say that's one of the key factors of building influence, the ability to meet people where they are. Would you say so, Andreas?
I would add on one more thing. You talked about motivating people. I would say I would go to the kid, I would go to the person, and I would understand what is the most inner drivers. What are the most inner drivers? We always talk about you got to be motivated. You got to be motivated. You got to be motivated. But beyond motivation, are values. If motivation is a value, fine. But it's really about understanding what is important. There's a child sitting in the middle of the road to get you to speak your language right now, Chee-Seng. To ask basically what is important to be here right now. And then understanding what is the child doing in the middle of the road, wanting to sit there and not doing anything, what is important there. And then using their language, using their thinking, using their model of the world, using their most inner drivers, and describing where you want to bring them, that they could get the same from where you want to bring them. Do I get lost in my own language here right now? Okay, they will get the same in the destination as they get at the starting point where they are right now.
So and what you say is true. What you say is really true. You need to really understand, because I remember one of my students. She was really the model student. She does all her homework. She's not problematic in any way. very consistent, and after, at one time, in one period of time, she just like turned, the complete opposite, right? And she started missing homework, and the homework that she handed up wasn't done properly, stuff like that. She wasn't motivated at all. And I was quite a new teacher at the time, and the typical Chinese teacher, what's wrong with you? You can't do this, blah 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 blah. Pressure,
Wow.
scold. And it was a few, and there was no result, there was no change, right? So a few months later, the father came and said, okay, they're moving away, so they're going to stop. And I asked them why. Oh, they had a divorce a few months ago.
There you go.
So that's when I realized, oh gosh, if I had known this, I would have treated her much differently, right? So that was one of the turning points for me, to really understand that, hey, communication is not about me telling you something. It's really about me understanding where you are, as you said, Andreas. Really about understanding where you are and having the ability to bring you to where we should be.
Absolutely. And so you were just, that's a Pink Floyd, Pink Floyd, The Wall. You were just another brick in the wall,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Every time I tell this story, I feel a bit sad. I mean, I hope she's okay now.
You can always reach out.
We've lost contact. I think she should be in her 20s by now. It was a long time ago.
It
was a long time.
Yeah, but so I get it.
I've always tried to treat my students differently. Since then, that was one of the. But of course, being like you said, nobody's perfect. I screw up. So, but having screwed up with enough students, okay, I've learned a few things.
Change. It shows people. First of all, you best example right now. You demonstrated you can change. You demonstrated that yes, our past is influencing us. There are certain significant emotional events, and because I call it, you woke up, so to speak. You realize the mess you've done along that line, and along that line, okay, you regret it now. But it's really about how many people walk through the world and mess up other people, not realizing it at least. So you were able to figure it out along that line sooner or later, and luckily, most likely sooner than later, and you made changes to it. So based on that experience right now, where you messed up, Chee-Seng, how many people have you changed positively? Look at this in this manner. If this wouldn't have happened, you would have continued. How many more people would you have messed up?
Yeah.
See that? That is a reframe for you personally right now. Based on that experience, you messed up one person, but you changed 1,000 along that line.
More. So yeah, I mean, it's always a learning journey, right? It's never static. Yeah. Okay, Robin, an influential communicator. How crucial is the need to adapt and hone in on the persona of the target audience? Do we need to project various persona based on the target audience?
Yes.
There you go.
the better you know your target audience. And I think you're talking in terms of marketing, Robin. How do you identify your target audience? And let me give you an example, which I don't know what you're doing, but I like to say that usually when we do our NLP coach training, that many people, for example, say, I'm a weight loss coach. For example, a good example right now I want to bring up, okay, a weight loss coach. I help people lose weight, whatever stuff, and they might even have numbers. If you focus on your target audience correctly, and you would say like weight loss coach, what kind of weight loss coach are you? Are you working, for example, with the target audience of people who are a little bit older, metabolism has gone down already? Are you working, for example, with younger ladies who want to get married and reach their dream figure? You want to work with guys who want to go in their 30s, going into having 6 or 7 or 8 apps along that line. So target audience really means to drill down. Drill down.
Yeah, I have to make do with one app.
Possible. We've got one beautiful one app, right? As detailed as possible, and not just age bracket, but what do they think, what do they eat, how they do they behave, what do they do? Understand them to the max way possible. And then you can communicate correctly, speak their language ultimately.
So okay, yes, Andreas, Following from that, can you have instant influence?
Sure.
Okay, so
What do you
ta-da.
what do you mean by instant influence? What do you mean by instant
That means
influence?
that means you go into a room and nobody knows you, and
Of
you start
course.
to speak, and people, oh, okay, this
Have,
is somebody
have
worth
you ever
listening
been
to.
have you ever been to a room with people, Chee-Seng, even though you defined yourself as an introvert,
Yeah.
suddenly somebody entered the room and you felt like the whole energy shifted, positive or
Mm.
negative. The whole
Yeah.
energy got sucked away, or the whole energy shifted, and the motivation, the mood, the energy just raised up. So
Right.
yes, we influenced instantly how we perceive people. People, and I say something which many people don't realize, don't know. We always say like first impressions count, and most people say it's like 7 seconds or 30 seconds or 1 minute. I don't believe that number, and studies have even shown that we form instant impressions in 1/10 of a second.
Mm.
Or the moment, and think about yourself. Do you meet somebody? The moment you're seeing somebody, the moment I'm turning up here in this video, and some people might not know me, boom, you instantly evaluate me. From the moment
Mm.
you're seeing somebody on Facebook, on Instagram, on wherever you go in a party, on a Zoom meeting, you form an instant impression. It doesn't take 7 seconds. It takes 1/10 of a second.
Mm.
And then we
So
have our own evaluation.
if that's the case, then I mean, then that will be our
How to
next
manage
question.
that?
Yeah. So what are some ways that we can raise our communication and influence, especially if like the situations just now, you're in a room full of people who seem to be not wanting to listen to you. So what would your advice be?
If I'm in a room, be yourself ultimately.
Mm.
Attune to the. It's back to authenticity ultimately. But I always okay. Couple of things. Okay, when I'm talking to a person or when I talk to a group, one of the hardest things we can do is to step away from our own judgment about the
Mm.
other person. So it's really about becoming aware of your own inner thoughts that you're starting to evaluate a person positive or negative,
Mm.
and saying like, oh, I like this person, or I don't like this person, or whatever it is, and become aware of it,
Mm.
and saying like, what is it here about right now? That's number one. Okay. Secondly, I'm coaching people quite a lot, and I see a lot of bullshit coming up. Not bullshit, people bullshitting me, but a lot of rubbish trash coming up along that line.
Mm.
I
In
need to
the,
be able, as a
yeah.
coach, to look beyond all the boundaries, all the trash, all that rubbish that people carry with them, and I need to see the diamond behind.
Mm.
I need to respect them for who they are. I believe very strongly in respecting other people, not accepting their bullshit, but respecting them. And NLP, respect another person's
Mm.
model of the world, their thinking, their
Yeah.
behavior, their way of being. I need to respect them first before I do any change work. And that means I need to be curious about them. Seek first to understand. Covey was saying that, Stephen Covey, right?
Yeah.
So I need to understand them. What is happening to that person? What is really going on? So I need to be really, really, really curious, ask questions first. Don't
Mm.
answer, don't listen to them and answer, and then still add on in my mind already, oh, yeah, 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 he said that, I'm going to say that. Really have a quiet mind and really listen to them, which is the hardest way of all to do. And if I
Yeah.
don't, and now the next part is what is a slap in the face of many people. If you don't like someone, this person is your teacher. What
Mm.
can this, because it's always about you. The
Mm.
world around you is your mirror. So if you
Reflection.
don't
Yeah.
like someone outside of you, it's always about you. Because if I don't like someone, somebody else likes that person, and somebody else likes that person, and somebody else likes that person. There are
Yeah.
people who like that person. So
Yeah.
how come I don't like that person? So it must be about me along that line, right?
Yeah.
So what is wrong with me, so to speak, that I don't like that person? And the moment I get rid of that stuff in my mind, I start liking that person.
So can we say that the key to increasing our raising our influence is to actually understand ourselves first?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, bro. voice and tone, of course, also influence behavior. Voice, tone, everything is influencing. Absolutely, we can't differentiate that from that one. Of course, it's always there. It's our own inner awareness, our own beliefs. If I go into a conversation, if I go into a meeting, if I go into what you mentioned earlier, a BNI meeting, for example, and I don't like it right now, what's going on? I feel like, ooh, like I don't know what's going on. It's holding me back. I feel unwell. I feel strange. I don't know how to get along with these people. It's about Mila. So I got to become aware of myself along that line. What's going on within me, and what do I need to do right now to make a change? How do I can change now instantly if it's important to me?
Right. So, and I think that is really, I don't know. To me, it's not easy to do, to have that level of self awareness, because
Oh yeah,
I think what you say
everybody
is correct right at the beginning of the talk. I mean the session. What you say is correct, because many times we are in this mode of, when I speak and you speak, it's a competition, right? Right. So either I
I don't
dominate or
believe in
you dominate,
competition.
right?
I
Either I
don't
win or you win.
stop. Oh yeah. That's what you said earlier. Yeah, because I don't quite believe in competition.
Yeah. So if we want to be influential, then we need to be able to step away
That
that
mindset.
model, right?
Hmm.
Because if it's either I win or you win, even if I can dominate the argument, doesn't necessarily mean that you agree. You
Hmm.
might shut up, but you might not. Most likely, you won't agree, because nobody likes to lose,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Absolutely. And the moment I walk away, that person backstabs me.
Yeah, that's even worse. Yeah. So the key would be to actually having that self awareness of what my response is, right? I mean, if I'm to summarize it, see whether I'm right to summarize it this way. uh, Self awareness of why am I responding this way, and actually stepping away from my own self and going to the other person, right? Meeting them where that person
Where they
is.
are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Here's a simple one for you. Wait.
It's most likely the heaviest one of them all. What does NLP stand for? Neuro linguistic programming. That is the
There you go.
heaviest. That is the heaviest stuff to explain always. Okay, because if you Google it up, nobody quite. It's like a whole mess in Google about explaining what NLP is. And NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. Basically,
Okay.
neuro stands for your thoughts, your inner thoughts, your neurology, the thoughts you're holding in your mind. Linguistics is a language you're speaking to yourself as a self-talk and to other people. And programming basically means your own behaviors that you are having then after your thoughts and your language along that line. It's a user, for me, it's a user manual for the brain. How do you get rid of limiting beliefs and negative emotions in order to reach your goal ultimately? I hope
All
that
right.
helps you a little
Let's.
bit. I don't know who that is. I can only see link and use them. Reach
Yeah.
out to me if you want to have more. I'm more than happy to send you a document over or a
Yeah.
job description.
Okay. Surely, I'm trying to understand what she says. What would you advise someone to a group of people? The speaker is
To kickstart a
meeting.
new project, which may last more than a year, and all present would be involved to kickstart a
Oh, okay.
project.
So, is it does it mean that you want to get everyone on board to on this project? Okay. So, okay, let's take that as
Someone
the.
from a group of people, the speakers meeting the first time to kickstart a new project. I would assume that everybody's got a huge. If they have been on the project and they're allowed to work with you for a year, or they're supposed to work for a year along that line, I would instantly tap into the experience and tell them they are there because they are very experienced in their life already, and I would invite them to be on board with me for this 1 year along that line to work together. You must work together. You can't. And the first, while you work for 1 year, I believe the first day or the first minute might be the most crucial part. Maybe not first minute, but the first 5 to 10 minutes might set the
The
whole
first 0.1
tone.
second.
Basically, yeah. How you're setting the tone in the first beginning will make or break a project. That's what I always want to believe along that line.
Yeah. So we can't see your name. Or you. Wait, I need to settle this later. I can't think of what's happening now. I was thinking the other way around. Why does this person be nice and agree with everyone else and not nice to me? What did I do wrong to that person? Okay.
Um, Well, it can also be, of course, it can also be, of course, what is that person seeing in you that you need to change. So when this is happening, of course, it is not about always me. I would, if you can, I would always step up to that person and saying like, I realize there's some issue going on here. What's going on? Can we figure out how we get onto one page? You see,
Hmm.
you have nothing to lose, If you walk away and you have negative thoughts, you see, let's talk like this, okay? Um, if yeah, if you have a conflict with a person, the person does not have a conflict with you, for example, okay? Then you walk away and you mess up your brain, you mess up your day, you mess up your week, you mess up your month, you mess up your life along that line,
Hmm.
okay? That person might not even think about you anymore.
Yeah.
So the best person walks away and runs his own life, and you have nightmares along that line. So the best way
Hmm.
to do is clear the page and go to that person and say like, something went wrong here. At least on my side, I just want to clarify something because something keeps bugging me. So why
Hmm.
playing games? I just blabber it out, and there's nothing to lose. You can always start with a clean slate. It's always about learning. It's always about moving. It's always about getting to the next level, building relationships, and especially right now, supporting each other. Why
Yeah.
playing games? Why playing politics?
Yeah. And I think it takes a lot of courage to do that as well, right? Because it's it's easy to say, oh no, why is this person treating me like this? But to actually say, okay, I'm going to go and find out, and clear the air. That takes guts, lah. Something I need to work on as well.
I think, and I'm talking like I'm saying, very scary now. Okay, if what I would never normally say, if you come to my age, it doesn't really matter
Okay, we
anymore.
understand.
Okay, no, but I mean, you see, it's about yourself worth along that line. It's about
Mm,
how good you want to feel. You don't need to be friends with everyone, but you want to have at least good relationship with most of the people. Will
mm,
everybody always love you, like you? Of course not. Of course not. Of
mm,
course not. But I want to hang around people who are kind of like to hang around me. I want to look for those people
mm.
who are stretching me, who can grow with me, who develop with me, who we can do something great together along that line. That's what is my goal along that line.
Mm. So when Jay says sometimes there's nothing you can do when someone has the perception bias, which I think is true, right?
Yep, so
Seeing the
agree.
seeing the good in certain individuals, but only the bad aspects on specific people. Yeah. Sometimes it's just, I think, a character conflict, right? It's just for some reason.
Yep, yep, yep. I
Yeah.
think it's
So,
very true. I mentioned that study of the 1/10 of a second. They found actually out. People form a judgment in 1/10 of a second, and then they're judging you, and you have a hard time to get out of that belief. So
yeah.
if they like you in this 1/10 of a second, they like you, and it's hard to change their belief. But if they don't like you in that 1/10 of a second, you have a hard time convincing them differently as well.
That's so
Hey,
true.
Marissa revealed herself.
Yeah.
cool to see you here. Okay.
Okay. So in your work, how are you making a difference? For people in terms of the communication and influence.
How do people hold so okay? I do NLP, I do hypnosis, okay, and I always go out from that assumption that we all have our childhood traumas. We
Hmm.
all we all been traumatized, okay. So, and a friend of mine was saying like we can never outperform our childhood traumas, which is very sad along that line, okay.
Hmm.
So it's about helping people to create the awareness about themselves. It's about helping people to communicate differently. It's helping people to get over their negative emotions and let go of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, all that really hardcore negative emotions, helping people to feel good about themselves, increasing
Hmm.
their self-worth, and ultimately helping people to take charge of their life and live the life of their dreams. We all deserve to live a much better life. Right
Hmm.
now, we are getting hypnotized negatively, really
Hmm.
there's a second pandemic going on. COVID is bad, of course, but it's more the fear of the other person that is getting so deeply installed inside of us, that we are scared of interacting with other people, scared of getting close to other people, scared to enter an elevator. Today I went down in my apartment area. I'm staying in the 11th floor, went down to the ground floor. Where else should I go? I think the elevator stopped in the 4th floor. Somebody was outside and said, "It's okay, I come in." And I thought, like, whoa, that's a very interesting question. First time somebody asked me, is it okay for me to come in to join you in the elevator? Of course it was okay. He was masked up and all that stuff. But I thought, like, wow, where have we ended up there right now? How will all of that stuff change our way of interacting with each other, influencing our communication? That is the second pandemic happening right now. So I help people to kind of, like, it sounds really dramatic right now, break free and free their mind to create their life the way they deserve and desire. What I like to say always.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. It's really interesting what you say. No, we can't perform beyond our traumas. Yeah. So in doing NLP work, you're actually restoring the sense of self-worth, which, as you mentioned as well, has a great contribution to our level of influence over others. Right.
Self-beliefs.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at the end of our time. So
that was fast.
Yes. So what are your 3 key takeaways for tonight? So that's we can have some sound bites for my edited videos later.
Oh, for me, my 3 bites, my 3 key bites. Oh, for them or what? Can you define what you mean by that? Okay. Okay, 3 key bites. I always have to say that in my training, study language. Really study language, study words and the impact of words. Study people's language. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and even Donald Trump. You always like him or don't like him, but he was like able to communicate in a manner that 50% of the Americans just totally fall for him, because he had a certain communication style, keeping it simple. Second takeaway. If you are describing something, describe it to people that they can really, really, really understand it, like you're speaking to 5-year-old children. So don't make it complicated along that line, okay? Don't make it complicated. Describe what you want to have as simple as possible. And the third one, become aware of yourself. What is it about you when you're communicating with others? Become aware of your self-talk. Become aware of your limiting beliefs. Work on yourself. And when you have a miscommunication with somebody, always think about you first. What is going on inside you here right now that you cannot see another person's model of the world, their point of view along that line? Because you can only change yourself ultimately. There's more than 3 key takeaways.
Yeah, no, that's right. There's more value. All right. So thank you very much, Andreas. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Please do make time for the next Leaders Dojo. What am I doing? Oh, yes, I forgot. I'm doing this.
I see. Cool stuff. Okay. Am I still on show? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And do make time for the next Leaders Dojo, where we will be sharing horror stories with Tila Supaya.
Gee, that's great. Joins the session.
Yes. So she has a lot of stories to tell about HR. And then we're going to talk about managing things, diffusing conflict, and leading people. So I hope that all of you had a great time discussing about communicating with influence tonight. Thank you, Andreas, for making time and sharing a lot of good insights with us. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and questions. It was a really great conversation. Rosita, self-reflection, authenticity, and effective communication. Well, she summarized it for you, Andreas. Great.
Thank you. Yay.
Okay, so with that, we're going to end for tonight, and we will see you on the next Leaders Dojo.
Bye-bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye.